Kesri, 69, went to a reunion event with his old classmates from Angthong. Thanaput then found his childhood bully Suthad Kasayamat, 69, at the event. Near the end of the party, a confrontation ensued. Thanaput accused Suthad of bullying him when they were 16 and demanded he apologized. Suthad refused and told him to forget it, causing a fight. Thanaput then pulled out a handgun, shot Suthad, and fled. Suthad was rushed to the hospital, where he was pronounced dead. The past 2.5 months I've been in a rehab center. It was supposed to be a 3-month stay, but another resident, let's call him, but decided to fake me out and get me booted from the program. While I was showering, he decided to put a vape in my shorts and get staff to check my room. I got kicked out and I thought he was going to get to stay, but that's where the revenge comes in. I knew he had more than just one vape. This dude is a fiend. He wouldn't sacrifice his only device to get me out of there. I decided to get even. Before I left, I pulled a stunt. I went to staff and told them about him contacting his girlfriend, whom he had a no contact order with after doing. So I went to the director and told him where the bud's stash was. I ain't no snitch, but if you F me, I'm F-ing you too. The director searched his stash and found a ridiculous amount of contraband. Though I was still kicked out of the program, I got the satisfaction of seeing him cry as he was led out of the building, in cuffs with 2 more charges on his head, knowing he won't see the outside world for 2 years or more. In World War II, Ilya Huitzkevich was a Romanian Jew held prisoner in a concentration camp. At the age of 13, he witnessed his family get murdered by a guard named Snescu. He vowed revenge. After the war, he received permission to emigrate to Israel, where he joined their defense force. He never forgot about Snescu and frequently asked about him. Soon, he got word that Snescu had made it out of Romania at the end of the war and had fled to France, where he joined the French Foreign Legion. Huitzkevich waited for his opportunity. Sometime later, Huitzkevich was serving on an Israeli warship that had docked in Italy. He deserted and made his way to France, where he also joined the French Foreign Legion. After basic training, he asked to be sent to Indochina, where Snescu was fighting. It took some doing, but eventually Huitzkevich got himself assigned to Snescu's unit. Then he waited patiently. There was a firefight, and Huitzkevich and Snescu were pinned down and awaiting reinforcement. Huitzkevich called out in Romanian, "Snescu, you are Snescu, aren't you?" "Yes, but Snescu, I'm one of the Jews from Chesnor." Then Huitzkevich emptied his machine gun into Snescu's chest. He was brought back to Israel and tried for desertion. Given the circumstances, he was only sentenced to a year. My town in England is rough, very rough. There's a man that passes through every now and again who is, to put it bluntly, a psychopath. His name's Fergal, and he's a gypsy, moves around a lot, and disappears into gypsy community, and if you even look at him wrong, he might stab you. Seriously, he has killed people. He has a lot of friends in town, drug dealers, felons, selling guns. I used to work in a shop that was owned by a drug dealer, and Fergal always came in when he was in town for a cup of tea. He liked me and always called me Butterfly for some weird reason. My boss came in the shop one day and said that a well-known scruff, he'd sell his own mother and rob the dead, who we'll call Tez, had stolen Fergal's chain that had his beloved, deceased grandmother's ring on. Fergal was fuming. Fergal was coming back to town at his earliest convenience, but before he could, Tez was arrested for trying to rob the corner shop with a rolling pin. Fergal wasn't having that. He had told everyone that he was going to kill him because there was no way to get the ring back. Fergal did what any sane person would do. He seriously assaulted someone to get arrested. He made sure it was on camera and stayed until the police got there. He was arrested and put in the same prison as Tez. Fergal managed to stab Tez in the legs, but told him that he wasn't finished. That he'd beat him so badly that he'll think he's going to kill him, but he won't. He will sometime, definitely, but he'll never know when. This was 3 years ago, and both are out. Tez has been beaten twice, and he's moved town. Fergal knows where he lives and makes sure that Tez knows. Tez's brother said that he's terrified of Fergal and that he's scared of going out. Tez is a horrible person. He stole his mother's bank card and put her in debt with drugs, beat his pregnant girlfriend, and he left a 1-year-old in the bath alone. She barely survived and has damage to her brain due to lack of oxygen. Now the names are changed for privacy reasons. So let's begin. Me, Dick, friends now ex, Ann, friend, boss old boss, James, my brother, Pops, my dad. So a little backstory. I've known for a long time, 6th grade to now. We've been friends for most of the time, and we are those friends who tend to flirt with each other for fun, but it never goes past that. But boy do I wish some days. Now we lost contact when I moved my sophomore year of high school. A few months ago I bumped into her in the local big box store. We talked for a bit and we swapped numbers so we could hang out. A few days later I find out she dating this guy who we'll call Dick because has a refined Dick, plain and simple. So Dick and my brother would together. Dick starts telling my brother how he's sleeping with this girl and has basically using her for a place to stay for a few days until he gets his own place. While he decided to shop my brother some pictures of her at work, my brother knew who it was right away and had Dick forward him the pics, to which he did. My brother sent me the pics and I turned around and called Anne and told her to come over for a bit. We needed to talk, it was important. About 45 minutes later and gets to my house. He sees me looking pissed and asks what happened. I show her the pics and tell her Dick works with my brother and he sent them to him while bragging that he was using you for a place to live. Quick side note, Anne is a spitfire when you're cross her. So she gets pissed and calls Dick and beaches him out for 45 minutes. Dick fails to realize that the store he works has super high definition cameras facing the counters because it's been robbed 8 to 9 times. So I call the boss. She's still the boss there, I just don't work there anymore, and tell her Dick is showing pictures that are NSFW to employees and possibly customers as well. Boss pulls the camera footage from the time in question and can clearly see said pictures on his phone along with him watching porn during his shifts. So he gets a 3-week suspension and has a massive write-up, has now got 1 foot out the door and about to be 2. The state has also been investigating the $300+ in missing scratch tickets. So they came down on him as well for unlawful distribution of porn. Now for the revenge part of this, and told him they were done after a few days of her thinking of what to do about him. He didn't take too kindly to that and started threatening her. My dad is the owner of a local transport business. They do cabs, limos, etc. While I call him and tell him that Dick is going after Anne. Now most of the employees at the station have met Anne and they all love her, and Dad planned on offering her a job anyhow. Well, Dick called to get a cab to Anne's apartment like he did every weekend. While I took the cab and got Dick and told him we had to swing by the station because I left my phone there. We pull up and I walk in and tell Anne he's in the cab. Dad comes out from the back and sees him in the cab. He goes to his computer and uses the remote for the cab and shuts it down. So I go to tell him the cab had a malfunction and he needs to wait inside for a few minutes while we fix it. Dick goes inside, sees Anne sitting at my desk with a dozen roses there and a card that says love you. I bought them for my grandma because she was almost back from a 1.5-month trip to South America. Dick flipped out and lunged at Anne. Big mistake as Dad is about 66, 315 pounds of muscle. Dick grabbed Anne by the neck and before he knew what happened, Dad had his butt on the floor and pinned him. The other diver we call the Godfather because he has the Bronx accent picks Dick up, pulls him outside and tied him to the pole by the building. Now this pole is right next to the sprinkler system for the lawn. I turned it on full blast and left Dick there until the cops came to get him. Now 95% of the cops know my family as this is a rather small town and we all get along great. The footage of him being tied to a pole mysteriously disappeared from the evidence lockers after that night. He was released on bond and had to go to court, so he called the cab company to get a ride to the court house because it's a thunderstorm and he don't wanna walk 8 miles. Big mistake. The driver drove extra careful because the roads were flooded by 4 inches of rain and visibility was low due to fog. Dick was 45 minutes late to his hearing and was held in contempt of court plus got charged with assault, trespassing and possession because he had some coke on him. The judge threw the book at him, gave him 10 years, but would reduce it to 5 if he told who his dealer was. Dick tried to blame me, but it didn't go over well, so he came clean and got 5 years. And Dick was put into the cell with a guy what is known for beating the crap out of guys who abuse women and children. From what I heard from my buddy Hossegard, Dick spent the first 2 weeks of his 5 years in the hospital because he got the crap kicked out of him and has the yard beach, meaning he gets the worst jobs, and anytime it's a 2-man job he gets pinned on it by himself. Word travels fast and poor Dick found out just how bad it can be. Hello everyone. This is my first time posting to this sub. Normally, I post in malicious compliance, as I prefer to let people screw themselves over. However, once, many moons ago, when I was very young and unmedicated, my anger got the better of me. Please buckle up, and remember, keep your hands and feet inside the coaster during the entire ride. An attendant will be around to check your harness shortly. Thank you for choosing Miss Victoria's Stories of Sit On It and Twist. Now, people may not know this by looking at me today. I'm a goth chick and proud pagan. But, during a period of my school years I went to a Catholic school. I had made very few friends, but we appeared very close. There were 4 of us females and 2 guys. When I got about 16, nature finally decided to take its course and I became interested in guys, girls as well. But this was a Catholic school in an extremely small southern town. My affections fell on a senior in our group, who I will call Adam, the first man. He seemed interested as well, and we began dating. That summer Adam decided to join the army. Having grown up in an entire family of army and navy, I was very proud of him, and I intended to join the military as well once I could. And I did. Hawaii Navy. So, when he left for boot camp I tried to help him as much as I could. But, alas, all puppy loves must come to an end. You see, high school boys are notorious for being dogs, and my little soldier was no different. Adam had married an exotic dancer immediately after 8 or technical training for the non-military. But it doesn't stop there. Oh no, I mean, what good would a revenge story be if it was just an ex who decided to say screw it? No, you see, our group of friends had one particularly saucy lass who I'm going to call Lilith, the first woman and mother to all demonkind, who also had her eyes on Adam. Now, it wasn't but a few months after Adam came home for a few weeks on leave that I learned about his wife. But, this was after I found out that he had knocked up my best friend Lilith. As you can imagine, 16-year-old hormones plus UNDIAGNOSED bipolar plus FIRST love plus FIRST betrayal equates to a whole mess of non-thought out actions. Now, I need to say, this is not a path I'm super proud of. In fact, I cringe every time I think about what happened. For anyone who doesn't know, adultery in the US military is an extreme offense, punishable by all sorts of nasty things, such as restriction, docking of pay, court-martial, dishonorable discharge, or even brig time. Although while I've heard it is a possible punishment, I've never seen that one. The very first thing I did was report the adultery and pregnancy to his command, followed by his wife. She deserved to know her less than 1-month-old marriage already had a Jody problem. Long story short, for his part he lost his wife, rank, and was discharged when found to be drinking underage and in uniform as a result of the divorce. Lilith on the other hand met a much nastier fate. See, as I said, this was a very small and predominantly Catholic town. So, her revenge was much meaner. My first stop was to the school's priest. I didn't make it a confession, as my family was not Catholic, we were Pentecostal, so I spoke with him about a crisis of faith, where I basically spilled the beans that 16-year-old Lilith and school volleyball star had gotten pregnant, and, due to my beliefs, I was unsure if I should maintain a relationship with her. Of course, the priest took that to the school board, as a pregnancy was a violation of our purity promises. I know, extremely stupid, but, again, the southern dogma at its best. She was kicked from the team pending a pregnancy test. Surprise, it was positive. The next step was to ruin her job. The diner she worked for was basically owned by a couple who believed sex was for reproductive purposes only, and taking pleasure from it was a sin. Lilith was fired. As a bonus, her parents discovered was not only pregnant, but had gotten that way with a married man. They lost it and did not speak to her. I'm not really sure to the extent they maintained their silence, seeing as she was a minor and she was kicked out on the day of her 18th birthday. I've really lost touch with almost everyone from that time, but from my understanding, Lilith suffered a miscarriage. This is where most of my guilt resides, due to the stress, and has since developed a habit, although I'm not sure of what, and I don't want to assume. Adam's wife did leave him, but not before getting pregnant herself and taking him for everything she could. Due to the dishonorable discharge, he could not longer work in that town and moved somewhere in the Midwest. Maybe I went too far over a high school crush, but in the end it was the anger of a teenager scorned. I feel guilty over the miscarriage, yet knowing that I'm remembered by even a few people as a force to be reckoned with does bring a smile to my face. Thank you for watching. Slap that like button and comment your opinion on these stories below. I'm waiting. Write that comment. Seriously. Have you written it yet? If you don't comment, you make a bunny cry somewhere. You're not that kind of person. I know. Anyways, peace out and catch you tomorrow.